Hey, welcome everybody. It's John from RogueCast. Today we're doing a live stream about the MSI GP66 gaming laptop. It's also known as the Leopard. And it's not going to be as high energy, I guess, as some of these other ones that we've done where we're building a whole machine as quick as we can and we're testing out a GPU or something cool. We are going to test out some cool things, and I got a great show lined up here. It's all going to be live, so there's going to be some stuff I'm going to show you about it that is just really cool, some things that they could work on. And then I have a special promotion for this one. Just like everything else on RogueCast, every month on these live streams, we try to put out something cool for you, save you a little bit of money if this is a product that interests you. You know, I wasn't a huge gaming laptop person before because it's like, you know, the price for what you get. But there's some things that kind of have me sold on this, especially right now in the current climate. But who am I? I am John, the Net Guy. You can reach me on my socials here, thenetguy.com. You can get me at /thenetguy on YouTube. And I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and all the other usual places. I post some funny stuff on there. I post some behind the scenes, and I often foreshadow what you're going to see here, what's coming up, what kind of specials we're running. And that big monstrous monitor behind me, for example, that 38.5, that's going to be a review that I put out this week. So I'm a content creator, I am a gamer, and I'm a YouTube aficionado here. So, you know, that's me. Second question is, who the heck is RogueCast? Well, RogueCast is a new way to buy PC hardware. Unlike going to Newegg or Amazon, and gosh, Amazon's all full of fake reviews now, right? So you don't know if that gaming mouse you're buying or that keyboard is any good, if it's going to work with the parts that you have. So RogueCast is a new way of purchasing that. They take people like myself, Iggy, Jeff from Craft Computing as RogueCasters, and we'll give you our reviews. I saw one the other day and I was like, oh, that's a kind of a tough review on that product. But, you know, for what it was a completely honest review. And I have no problem telling you, if you don't like this one, check out this other product, this other one that might even be better. So this is completely live, like I said. I've got RogueCast.com up here, and I also have the Net Guy on YouTube. And so if you want to ask a question, go ahead and do that. And I will try to check both services occasionally here, looking for questions. If you want to see something specific, again, it's live. Call me out. Tell me what you want to see. If you want to see the hardware diagnostics or something on here, let me know and I will open that up. I've got a kind of a pre-planned script we'll go through here, but if I don't answer your question, put it in the chat. We'll take care of it. So I appreciate that. And without further ado, let's talk about the MSI GP66. This is I would call it a mid-range gaming laptop. Like if you've got low-end, like sub-$1,000 gamers that have some sort of GPU in them, maybe a 1650, 1660. This one's definitely got some chops there. It has an 11800H processor in it. So it's 11th gen Intel. And they've done a lot of really cool stuff in Intel. Intel has been getting kind of spanked lately by all the Ryzen chips. But I'm actually kind of impressed. I'm not a huge Intel guy. And this one, for a mobile CPU, does really, really well. It has the RTX 3070 built in. So this is the kind of funny story right now. If you can't get a GPU, well, one, you're not watching RogueCast, because I know a lot of people on Twitter, that's where they got their GPU. We get a special allocation of them. We're not as big as the Best Buys, but if you want to keep hunting these areas like us, hopefully we can make your day and get you a GPU. But if you can't get a GPU and you can't get a gaming console, I was trying to get a gaming console embarrassingly the other day, and I'm sad we don't carry them, but you know, I couldn't get a gaming console and I'm gonna have to wait in a queue or something. This is a viable option. This is a very viable option other than a pre-built. So you can go buy a pre-built and pay markup and do whatever, but this is absolutely a viable option, and it's got some neat features being portable. You know, I've got a box over here, an NZXT build I did a couple weeks ago on a live stream. And it's a great box. It's a fun machine. And it was cheap. It was a good budget build, but I can't take it with me. If I want to go traveling, it's the summer, COVID's letting out. Now we can all go do what we want and have fun. You're kind of stuck at home gaming. And who wants to be at home any more than we were in the last year and a half, right? So the RTX 3070, you know, they say it's a 3070. It is by numbers, by performance, it's a little bit hampered. And I'll tell you why. One, you don't want to burn your fingers off on this. I've got a 6800 RX 6800 in my gaming box, and that thing weighs 2.5 pounds on its own. Most of its heat sinks and fans. You can't put that kind of gaming performance in a laptop that's got a tiny, tiny sandwich and retain all of the same capabilities. So what they do is they lower the number of cores a little bit, and they definitely work on the thermals. They work on they used to call this, I think, the Max Q, Max P models, but now they just call them the same thing to confuse you. But it's about 20% slower. So 20% slower on a 3070 is faster than a 3060. So you're getting an RTX 3060, but what's cool about it, it has those RTX features, and being kind of an AMD guy myself, those are new to me. And you know, the NVIDIA broadcast, that was really cool. So that's another cool feature this thing has. Another couple things I wanted to show you real quick here as we go through this. I'm just going to show you the back side here. I'm going to switch over to the other camera view. I have saved this moment just for you. I did not peel the back off. I know that this is kind of cool for some people, maybe not for others, but there we go. One thing I want to point out is that this laptop, when it comes to gaming laptops, is one of the first ones that is not gaudy. You know, if I'm traveling for work or whatever, I don't want to have a laptop that's got, you know, blingy lights and all sorts of show stuff going on when I'm trying to just use it normally. And this one has a definite business vibe to it. I'm going to show you real close here. So it's got these kind of like stealth fighter angled edges. I thought that was really slick. That's about the only indication that it's a gaming laptop. Well, and these monster fan inlets. It's kind of hard to see there, but yeah, those fans that go down the side, and yeah, these big radiator grills. Those things are awesome. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, looking at the chat there. There's definitely different models of this. You can spend different amounts of money, obviously. You know, this one is, again, middle of the road. Our price on it, I'm going to bring up the key spec sheet here. It is listed at $18.99. I'm going to try to do better than that today. So we'll talk about that in the promotion that we have. It is a limited promotion, and it is limited to people that are watching the stream because it's not announced. You're not going to find it in our newsletter right now. Let's put it that way. So it's not a month long, and there's a small amount on this one that we'll talk about in a bit. So those are the main things that it has. You know, it's got this 144 hertz panel. So there's a 240 version, a 144 version. Using it, I can tell you, I was superbly impressed with this panel. I had no problem using it. I thought it was really good. Playing Warzone, exactly. That was really, really fun. When you can play Warzone with a machine that actually plays it fast enough, that game looks really cool. And the panel, the pixel pitch on it is really, really tight. So, you know, definitely a good panel. As far as the rest of the specs, we should go through that real quick. It does have 512 gigabytes SSD. Now, that's what you're going to get at this price point. If you want a terabyte or more, you have to spend more money. And that's, you know, just rules of the road, right? You know, it's a cost of parts here. The cool thing about it is you can usually get a better deal on an SSD, even if you buy it from us. You can get a 1 or a 2 terabyte NVMe M.2 and throw that in the extra slot. And now you've got 512 boot drive plus an extra big game drive, which is awesome. And then it has replaceable memory. So a lot of the pre-built laptops, budget laptops, they're going to have fixed RAM. And you're not going to be able to adjust things in that sense. And so, you know, that can be a bummer. It can be a drawback here to have that fixed memory. This one is replaceable, but now what's kind of cool about it is 16 gigs, which is decent. A lot of games and a lot of content creation, that's more than enough. But, you know, what's interesting about that is it's 3200 megahertz RAM. So it's DDR4 3200, which you don't usually see on the Intel side. You don't usually go for super, super fast. And especially in these laptops, now, you know, replacing it, if you're going to go 32 gigs, I wouldn't go any slower RAM. So that was kind of a cool thing about it as well. And then lastly, I said, you know, it's very business-esque. One of the things I'll point out is the keyboard. Because love it or hate it, the keyboard often sells people on laptops. My laptop over here, the keyboard's a dumpster fire. My MacBook, it's a MacBook Pro 13. I use it for on-the-go editing right now. And it had the great Mac keyboard, and then they screwed it up with this butterfly keyboard. And then the proof is they went back. The keys on this one are longer throw. They're not a mechanical keyboard by any means. They are a little bit longer than others, especially like the Mac. but you know, you're not going to spend a long time getting used to it. And you can actually whack out some text on this pretty fast. You can type pretty quickly on it. There are some cool things I want to show you about it real quick, but we have to change the studio a little bit. So ask for some assistance here. Alexa, turn off the studio. Now, hopefully she doesn't shut down our stream. Okay, we're doing good still. I wanted to do this so that you guys can see the backlit keyboard. So this keyboard backlighting is probably one of the most tasteful I've seen of the keyboard backlights. And, you know, I've got an RGB backlit keyboard all over the place in here. Most of my keyboards are. And this is a per key lighting system. And what does that mean? It means pretty cool stuff, actually. I didn't think about this until they combine it with a software. Well, obviously, it's dark out. You hit the function key. It now highlights all of the keys that you can use with function. So including the arrows, which do the screen brightness. So that was one kind of cool thing. But again, this is a gaming laptop, right? So they've integrated it with gaming features. When you open certain games, the hotkeys for that game are then shown. So that's kind of cool. So it'll highlight different keys, different zones, and you can control all that key mapping, which is really cool. Alexa, turn on the studio. Get our lights back on here. Okay. So you can see that. That was a pretty cool little feature that I thought was neat to have the RGB. So, you know, it's not Boy Racer Gamer. It's not got big red stripes all over it, but on the inside, it definitely has some color. It's directed towards you, not anybody else. And so that's one of the other key features that I thought was really cool on this thing. I'm going to give you a tour of the I/O on the outside because to me as a buyer, that's important. And then we're going to get into gaming because I think that's the next best thing. That's what this thing is designed for. And I got some funny stuff to show you. I'm going to check the chats real quick here. Yeah, exactly. 5 more watts on the GP76 on the graphics. This is really solid. And Dan, I absolutely agree with you. Are you thinking like the SN750 on the WD Black model, the NVMe? He says the 2 terabyte, he would take that on the chat. That thing is awesome. Yes, and Rick, the keyboard is awesome. Just checking the chat over on RogueCast. We're still good there. Like I said, keep asking questions. I will go through it. We're going to make this fun. We're going to have a good time on it. So, tour of the PC. Let's go over the I/O ports. This is an area where you may be a little bit disappointed. But again, it's a gaming laptop. So this side is already full because it's got my gaming mouse connector there, dongle. But you have your headphones, your gaming mouse. I'm going to flip it around here. I've used 3 out of the 4 connectors on the back here. So what are you seeing here? You've got a big chunky power cable. This is 240 watts. Well, you got a 130 watt GPU. You've got a 45 watt TDP CPU. So you're going to be putting out a lot of power here. And then you've got to do motherboard, other resources, and then you got to charge your battery. So yeah, this thing's big. You can run it without that. There is no Thunderbolt charging, which it would be really hard to run on Thunderbolt. You'd probably be at a negative power differential. Standard HDMI, which I thought was good. I'm surprised how many laptops don't have that, but how many TVs do. You know, I've seen a lot of TVs with a display port. So, you know, having an HDMI is super convenient now, especially if you're going to go on business somewhere. I thought that was cool. 2.5 gig wired Ethernet. So I love wired networking when I can. Wireless has issues. Obviously, when you've got, you know, as many folks as I am in my house, I've got a gazillion of us here. We got 60 plus IoT devices with everything running. You're going to get congestion on Wi-Fi. So wired is great to have. The last one I'm going to talk about here is this little tiny mini DisplayPort. And, you know, putting a full-size DisplayPort on this would probably take up a lot of room, and mini DisplayPort is just as good. And then lastly, before I pull all the cables out, we have 2 more of the USB 3.2 Gen 1s, I believe. So they're the standard USB-A. A little bit of a drawback here, no USB-C. So that's one of the common things that people are asking about. You know, most laptops nowadays are coming out with the USB-C. You can, in the more higher end models, get USB-C, but you know, there are benefits and drawbacks to it. You know, some monitors like the one behind me don't have a USB-C port, so you're going to be carrying dongles and adapters with you. This thing having mini DisplayPort and an HDMI, most places are going to have that, so no dongle or adapter needed. There's also no SD card slot, which, you know, a lot of these things you're kind of making trade-offs here. You know, the room that would take, another port or 2 that it would create on the outside, you know, is that really, really necessary? So, you know, it's a trade-off, obviously. So that's generally a tour of the outside of it. Huge fins here, obviously. And we'll talk real briefly about the bottom of it, because some of you guys that want to do upgrades, again, RogueCast is a computer gamer friendly channel, and we definitely encourage you to learn about and do PC builds. We do a lot of them here. It's got 11 screws on the bottom, right through here, and there's one under this factory seal. Now, I'm not an MSI rep, but I can tell you that they try to tell you your warranty's void if you take that off. If you're doing a standard upgrade, there's some legal ramifications of whether or not you can do your own upgrades, or if you have to pay somebody, or certifications and all that. But in general, that's one other area that's a little bit tough on this one. You can do the upgrades, but you have to take all those. And this thing is built tight, like all of the plastics. I did not take this one apart, as you can see. But all the plastics are very, very tight together. So you're going to have to use a spudger. If you've ever worked on a cell phone, you've seen what those are, to go around. And, I've seen some other reviews where they just didn't take it apart because it is that tight. They didn't want to risk breaking it. So odds are you wouldn't have to do that in normal use. But I just want to point it out, full transparency, that is one of the complaints. As far as the heat pipes go, you can see them kind of through these grills, but there's two huge fans in this thing. This thing is all fan on the back side to get all of that heat. It's got, over 200 watts just between the CPU here, motherboard, and GPU. I think there's 6 coolers on the GPU. There's only 2 heat pipe coolers on the CPU. And that has been a complaint as far as thermal throttling and limits. You're going to hit that limit before you hit anything else. So just wanted to point that out. And now I'm going to load up some of the gaming that I did here so that you can see what those benchmarks look like. If you have a specific game that you want to talk about, let me know here. Back of this laptop. Yeah. I wish I could take this apart. But if I broke it, this is on loan from MSI to me. I would love to keep it, but it's like a you break it, you buy it thing. There are a couple videos on YouTube, and I can link those in the description of this video later, and try to help you out there, Dan. Dan was asking if I could crack this thing open like an oyster, and I'm like, I don't know about that. So I appreciate that. Let's get logged in here. Don't look at my password. There we go. Hopefully I got that right. And cool thing I got set up here, I'm actually plugged and jacked into this thing. So you can see directly on the desktop what I'm seeing here. I'm going to talk about some gaming results. I did kind of foreshadow some of the things that were going on here. Fortnite gameplay. Okay, so yes, esports are dead. No, I start playing with my daughter. I love playing with my daughter on Fortnite. You guys have heard me say that all the time. But the performance on this is kind of funny because there's 2 of us. There's me earlier. I was doing picture in a picture. Right next to the upper picture in a picture, it's 120 frames per second. Now this video is looking choppy, but I can tell you in the raw native one, it wasn't. This is only recorded at 30 FPS, but it was doing 120 FPS, and it was awesome. It was so much fun to play. I don't know if you guys this is a question for the channel. If you guys have been playing the new Fortnite season here, this is awesome, the railgun. So I take that person out. I nearly kill myself jumping off of here, but overall it worked really well. Now I had to use a gaming mouse. I'm not going to be the guy that tries to game on a trackpad. That's just not going to happen. So I plugged my gaming mouse into it. It ran really well. Connectivity was good, recording it all. Had some fun with it. And then the display on this, being an IPS display, Fortnite is a really bright game, bright colors, right? And it just popped on this display, great brightness. Right around here, I found somebody sneaking up behind me. I'm just going to come over here. They were coming over the back side of the hill. And some people are going to say, oh, it's only FHD, right? It's not the quad HD. The clarity on this, the pixel pitch, like I've said before, 141 DPI here. So I was able to zoom in here, and I think I can even zoom in here. And then, I'm able to zoom in on the player and use my sniper rifle here for just an epic kill. I was getting pinged, and I'm like, I'm just going to switch over to the sniper. Yeah, I got to reload. It's faster. Let's just do that. So that was good. And yes, I did die in epic fashion just a little bit after that. We won't show that part on the video. But Fortnite definitely plays really well on here. I don't know. Dan asked a question. Is it 135 or 130 watt? It's not boosted that 5 watts, but I've heard that you can do things like undervolting on the CPU side and do some other things to boost performance. You can even install new drivers, often tend to boost performance as these things get better. So that was another one. I'm going to pull up Warzone, and the reason I recorded these two sections only is because I don't want to be like that rage quitter that you see, the netguy.com. If you see me in a game, that's usually my tag. If you see the netguy.com, I'm playing in your Warzone, and all of a sudden I quit out after I get my performance numbers. I won't admit to doing that. But here's Warzone. I was playing that earlier. And I was going through the settings here, and I'm just going to show you everything is on Ultra. So top of the line, Ultra. I think this even had DLSS on. I think I turned that on. But what I didn't realize is I was dropping down. If you look in the background right now, I'm dropping down and I'm getting completely wasted. And that's pretty much how the rest of my game went on that one. So, but the frame rates, this thing was pulling over 100 FPS in Ultra on Warzone, which is awesome. Again, it makes the game more fun. And then when you have all the lighting and the shading and everything, Fortnite is a Crayola crayon box, whereas this one is an oil painting. These scenes with the lighting here and the ray tracing, you see all that. It's just awesome look to the game here. And it performed, like I said, incredibly well on those two games. And then we'll go back to a couple others that I liked that I thought were good. And then we'll talk about some other benchmarks here. So I'm actually going to load this one up live if we can. And it is the one that everybody loves to hate. Cyberpunk. And Cyberpunk went way up. I saw everything about it. Twitter was a rage. And then it dropped like a stone. You couldn't find anybody playing it anymore. I don't know if everybody just got tired of it. Now what you'll hear there, and maybe you won't, I've got really good noise suppression here, but the fans on this thing just turned into a rocket. So what's happening is MSI Center is their app. It'll actually go through the laptop here, and when you launch a game that it knows about or a game that you can register your games in here, you can start to do really cool things with them. Like in this case on Cyberpunk, because I'm running at max settings here, full HD, and with the ray tracing and everything else enabled, I told it to turn the fans on full blast. So I want no thermal throttling as much as I can get on a laptop like this. And so did that. And just checking the chat over here. Looking on the RogueCast side and showing the Cyberpunk there for you. Again, if you got any questions or you want to see something specific, let me know. But this game looks awesome. You can see, again, the headlights, the fog, everything that's going on here. Just the fall off of that lighting, And this is a laptop. We have to remember we're playing on a gaming laptop, and not often do we think of performance like this in something that's 5 pounds. It's literally 5.25 pounds. Let's get in the car. We can get driving. And I don't know if I can pull up frame view while I'm in the game, but we're going to find out here. And we'll see if it will add itself on the overlay. There we go. 55 FPS, 56 FPS. Now again, this is full max ultra settings on this. The game looks gorgeous. You guys are probably not hearing the game. I can send some of the game audio to you. So hopefully you guys can hear that. But yeah, again, not a bad game play experience. Definitely the fact that you can do this portably anywhere is another big selling point on this one. So again, Cyberpunk. And the 1% lows are still above 50. So it's sitting there right around 60. It may even be locked. I have to go look. But yeah, very, very impressive on that as well. Mech Warrior. Yeah, good luck. Me too. The laptop GPU, from what I can tell, it does support DLSS. You can put that and enable that. I believe I turned that on in one of the games. I'd have to go look. And then the last one I want to show you, and it's just, we'll see if it launches. It had a little trouble launching without the Epic launcher here. That's one of the things. Tell me in the comments. I'm tired of launchers. Like, you used to install a game, and you knew what game you had, and you had an icon wherever you wanted it. And now I've got to have 16 launchers, and Battle.net, and Epic, and Origin, and there's everybody, Ubisoft. And they all want to run in the system tray, and they all want to nip away at my resources. I'm tired of launchers, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about game launchers, and should they be outlawed? But yeah, I love the idea of just, click in, let's click on the game and let's go. So we're loading up Assassin's Creed. I had some trouble with the installer here, and I did just update my graphics. So let's cross our fingers here. Hope this thing will come up. While I'm doing this launch, I'm going to show you a couple other things. One, what the heck was Windows thinking down here in the corner with this weather bug? It's 67 in Seattle, by the way. That's called a heat wave in Seattle. Just checking the audio levels. I don't have the audio going out to you on this one. Let me check. Oh, I've got it turned down. That's why. Because we're going through NVIDIA broadcast. So yeah, like I said, it does have those other features. And then I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the game audio so you guys can hear it. Yep, here we go. If you guys haven't played this game, it's really fun. I have not gotten a chance to really go through it. Hopefully you guys can hear me over that. If it's too loud, let me know and I'll turn it down. Ignore all of the UI here and the 30 frames per second. That's not what it runs like. But another really, really good game. It does have HDR. And so on some of the external monitors, if you want to have an HDR experience, this is not an HDR display. It's 350 nits. It's close to it, but not quite. But if you want to have that HDR experience, just plug in an external. So you can do that, and it'll absolutely play HDR games really well. That said, the panel, for being an IPS display, we'll talk about that. Can we pull that up, actually, while we're waiting for this to load? I'm just going to pull up the spec sheet real quick for you. So it's got like 1,000:1 contrast ratio, but the 350 nits brightness makes it feel a lot more than that, right? So it's not a huge, black to bright white, doesn't look as bright or wide of a range, but the whiteness being so bright, it does help to bring that up, if that makes sense. That's one of the things I noticed is I didn't feel like that VA panel, like super rich black, but at the same time, the colors are popping with the IPS display. So really kind of cool. I'm just going to pull up a section of the game, which I thought was really cool. I think I have this game locked at 90 is the max it'll let you. And it's like 100-degree field of view because I was playing on a really big screen. I could probably set this back to the beginning. Oh, I got to pull up the game. Sorry, guys. Didn't have the game running there. I was running the specs. But here you go. Let's go back. I'm going to hit escape. This is what I'm talking about. So this is on a laptop GPU. You see how, like, when the sun goes around, those god rays, we call them, the horse's heads pulling the new god rays. But this is mobile gaming, and it's hard to see on the snow, but I'm pulling 82 back to 90, 80 plus FPS on a laptop. And this game is no slouch graphically. And so, I'll just do some movements around here. We shouldn't hurt animals, should we? Okay, I won't hurt an animal. I'll just shoot it in the water or something. There's a seal. Okay, now seal, that's an animal you eat, right? At least in this game, you can do some hunting. So there we go. Got him. Now I'll go over there and we will properly loot the corpse of the animal because that's what we do. And we'll do that. And I'm just running the game a little bit here for you. So one, you can see the game. And two, oh, it's underwater. It's not going to let me loot it. Might have waited too long. Dang. Okay, well, it's gone. Not going to let me do that. Oh, unless he got away. Or was he just injured? And there he goes. This is what happens when I play video games, right? So, gorgeous looking game. I want to hit escape here and show you something, though. If we go into the options, and then we go here, you can see the FPS. Now, I just upgraded the driver just a little bit ago. I was getting in the 70s mostly, and now I'm up over 100 on the average. Or, sorry, up on the over 100 on the max, and I'm over 80 on the average. So, really happy about that. But again, another really cool performance for what is a gaming laptop. And the fans on this are not kicked up all the way. It's not screaming like some of the other things can. So, thanks, Dan. Yeah, sorry about the slow switch over there. So again, that is the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There's so many really good games out there that you can see. I'm going to go ahead and pull up one more item that I want you guys to see. And that is the MSI Center. So this is similar to the Dragon Center. I think they rebranded. This is going to have some information about your CPU, GPU, obviously. It's got some tweaking features, but it's very heavily menu oriented, so you got to go top and then to the next one, and then it'll change also, like gaming mode. This is what I was referring to earlier. So right now, my Assassin's Creed Valhalla is not under gaming mode. So it may have been getting thermally throttled there for a little bit. But if I go in and I add it here, or I tell it to scan and find my games, it'll find that. And the other cool thing is if we go into here, you can see the things that the gaming mode does. And actually, that one's really tight because it's got my ugly mug in there. But if we go here, you can see what it's doing. And I'm going to try to zoom in just a little bit for you. And so what it's allowing us to do is disable the touchpad, boost the system performance, so it's going to be louder. It's going to use Mystic Light on the keyboard. And then it's got in-game highlights. I turned that off. I don't want it to take some CPU time here and GPU time. It's another thing very similar to the Xbox Game Bar, where it can actually record what you're doing and play it back to you. So that's a little bit more about the game mode that's built into it. That's kind of a cool feature for a gaming laptop. You've got other different things that you can do within this app here. This is where you go from I want really, really loud to I want balanced. In some of my gameplay, I didn't realize it. I was on silent. I was trying to test how quiet it would be. And this thing is definitely quiet. So I was super happy about that. You could take this to a college class. And that's the other thing is I've got a Dell i7 maxed out. And that laptop, you don't really have a lot of control. It just decides to go thermal nuclear war and just, super duper loud. It would be really annoying. In some business meetings, it is annoying. And this is a really cool way just to tap that one click. And now you've got this thing in super quiet. You got some system diagnosis capability. Yes, I have low disk space. I've been loading so many games on this from last night and to today here. So was adding a bunch there. So it's giving you some warnings of stuff. I have not battery calibrated it as well. So that's some basics there that I wanted to show you about the gameplay. So decent. And when I said earlier, RTX 3070, 8 gig, yes, it has the video memory of that. The performance is somewhere between a 3060 desktop and a 3070 desktop. So again, like 20% of a hit, but in this case, you can see it's playing all those titles that would bring other desktops to their knees, and it's playing them in ultra settings. It's doing really well. So really happy about that. Moving right along, I did talk about some of the MSI features. I want to talk about broadcast real quick. And for this, I am going to use their webcam. So this is the NVIDIA broadcast software. I don't know if I can make this bigger on their preview window. So in here, I could do a background replacement, and this is using the RTX technology. So if I'm a video game streamer, you can see me in here. This is using the webcam. You can tell the quality is not quite there. I'll zoom in just a little bit for you here. So, quality of the webcam in this little window, not quite there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off. You can actually do things like background blur. And this is kind of cool. So again, if you need to blur out your background for any reason, you're in a business meeting, and that's actually really doing well for my background. So it's isolating me from my background pretty decently, but I've got this ghostly white cast. I'm going to tell you how to fix that. So what I can do here, I'm going to go back out to full. I'm going to close out of this. The webcam is probably one of the things that they could iterate on and improve quite a bit. Again, I got a lot of studio lights here, but a big bald head like this, you generally get this blowout, and maybe other people with hair don't. I don't want to be the guy that complains about this, but I do have a utility on my website, thenetguy.com, under tools. This is a free one that you can get, not sponsored by anybody, but it allows you full control, again, over the exposure of your webcam, colors, things like that. Already, I'm like 100 times better, as you can tell here. And maybe I've got too much saturation. I can bring that down. Ooh, not that much. I can bring that down a little bit. I can bring up the brightness or bring it down. You can change gamma. You can do all that stuff. And so now I'm like way, way better. So out of the box, the webcam, but with just a tiny little bit of tuning. And maybe MSI's got a product in there that I haven't seen, but with a tiny little bit of tuning, the webcam is really good. And funny story about that I want to tell you guys about. I was on a call last night with another RogueCaster. And so this was myself. This is Iggy from This Bites For You, and Dan from PC Tech Hustle. We were on a call here. We have like a monthly call. We talk about tech and do cool stuff. I'd love to do some live streams with them. And, that was a really cool one, but the webcam worked. And this is me after tuning the webcam. It did really good. It was comparable to their webcams, I think. And so that's with a little bit of help. the webcam will do just fine. So I'm going to go back through and just iterate and do one quick pass on the questions. Again, a lot of people have been waiting here. Created it myself. It's just a PDF table. Oh, okay, Dan, that's awesome. Yeah, man. If you want to send me a link to that or something, I could put it in my website and I'll link to it in the video description if you don't mind. That would be really cool. Again, you know, there's a trade-off here. You're not buying desktop GPUs. You're not able to pull the GPU out of this and put it in a desktop, which would be kind of cool. But you're getting something that's pre-built. You don't have to do a lot of work. It has a warranty built in. You know, coming from a generally reputable company, I was surprised. I have not done a lot of MSI work, and I had a monitor from MSI, motherboards now, laptops. You know, overall, all the products I've used have generally been very high quality, which, again, some budget brands, you get back and forth. Some of them are amazing, and some of them, you know, are take it or leave it, right? So who do I think is the ideal buyer for a laptop like this? I'm going to call it the gamer on the go, right? It's somebody that wants to be able to game when they're traveling. If you're in a hotel, we're getting out of COVID, like I said. That's somebody that I think would really appreciate or value this. Somebody who wants kind of that minimalist thing, you know, instead of having a bunch of cords and big monitors and stuff, you could have this on a desk and play really well. Or if you want to come home, plug a couple cords in, close it, slide it under something, and have your full-size monitor like that guy. This would be a great powerhouse to drive a big HDR panel or a 4K panel or something else. It does have 4K. I think it's 60 out at least. I think it may even be able to go higher than that. So it's got a lot of those capabilities, a lot of those features in there. And one that I didn't necessarily think about until I started like adding things up as to what is actually going on here. The creator on the go, you know, it's got a 15:6 screen, which some days when I create and edit on my 13, I'm like always looking for screen real estate. So it's got the screen size. It has the color accuracy with the IPS. I'll bring that back up real quick here. It is a 99 sRGB, which I've seen between 95 and 99 listed for this one, but that's good enough to do most YouTube color grading. And so, you know, I'm very happy with that. And then you've got literally, I want to pull up the CPU cores because this is always kind of funny. I love looking at this. So if you want to ever change on yours and just look at it, go to the CPU here. So I did Control-Shift-Escape to bring up Task Manager. Go to Performance, go to your CPU. Right-click, change graph to Logical Processors. And so then this is the threads. It'll tell you it's got 8 cores, 16 threads. For rendering video, the GPU is going to be amazing if you use something like DaVinci Resolve that can take advantage of it. But the CPU and GPU combination is going to be a great little mobile rendering station. So you could be on a hotel and edit the last little bits of a travel vlog and do it. So gaming laptop, absolutely. But I think there's another market for this thing too. As a creator myself, I can tell you that this would be kind of fun. I'm going to hit a couple more things. We'll look for some more questions, and then we'll do a wrap up. But I appreciate you guys. On to the promotion real quick before we get into performance. There are $100 mail-in rebate from MSI directly. So again, laptops are really hard to sell on sale, like super, 30, 40, 50% off. You're not going to see that very often. There's a lot of cost in the components. There's warranty issues. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that they have to pay for. And, $100 off is a good start on this. And that's about as low as I've seen it anywhere. I was doing some poking around last night, and this model, you'll get a $100 mail-in rebate to the first 10 buyers. If you order from RogueCast, we'll call you, let you know if you can do that. We'll get you all of the information that you need to process the rebate. So no coupon code needed this month, but this is the promotion for the June RogueCast stream, is $100 off of this laptop, which, again, if you're going to buy it anyway, free money's free money. $100 off is a pretty good chunk there. It buys you a gaming keyboard and mouse, buys you part of a panel if you're going to put a side panel with this, maybe a nice bag to go with it. So you got some cool stuff going on there. As far as benchmark results, I'm going to pull up the Cinebench R23. This is the one I use almost exclusively, and I'll bring that up so you guys can see it. And the laptop did okay. Now, a couple caveats here. This was not an extreme test. When I do an extreme test, I go in there and I shut everything down. I shut every tiny service down that we don't need. I turn off the game bar. I turn off a lot of stuff. Let's see. Okay, good. One second. Sorry, I was just checking the chat. So yeah, I usually go through a pretty exhaustive step. I did not get a chance to do that on this. On RogueCast.com, though, we will have a video of this laptop shortly in there in the rotation. In those 2-3 minute videos, we will talk about the performance of it, and we'll have some more exact numbers. You can also do some Googling here and get some more exact Cinebench numbers. Numbers are really hard because a lot of times engineers like myself will cherry pick. Are you really going to go through services and shut everything down before you play a game? Probably not. So, you got to kind of take it or leave it. Where does this thing stack up? It is supposed to be an 11800H CPU. It's going to be slower than the equivalent desktop. So, it is very, very similar, if not just a little bit ahead of a 5600X Ryzen. So it's going to be a little bit beyond that. And that's some serious compute power in 45 watts. So the 5600, I believe, is a 65 watt TDP. And this thing is already, I'm going to go down here to the corner so you can kind of see those numbers better. So it's pulling off 11635. So I think the 5600X was 11200. So it's a little bit ahead of that already. And, then you look at the 5800X, which is my personal, fastest machine that I've got. And that one's heavy. It's 100 watts TDP, and that's probably conservative. That thing loves to get hot, and with the PBO, the Precision Boost Overdrive, it's always cooking. So you can't do that in a laptop, but most of the time, I don't find that my games are GPU bound. And I don't know about you guys, but, CPU bound. They're always GPU bound, and we could look at those games that we just ran and, go from there. And so, it's a decent performer. From a benchmarking perspective, I have not gone through some of the other ones. I did do the Heaven benchmark, and it was coming in at about 170 FPS, which is, again, a solid performance when you're on these settings. And that's getting to be a little bit of an older one. I didn't get a chance to do some of the other newer benchmarks with the ray tracing and everything else. I'm going to check one more time. There you go. Show me the table. I love it. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I love the idea of the table there. Okay, and then the next up is the pros and cons list I'm going to give. So, pros and cons on this one. I'm going to do kind of a rapid fire here. I'm going to show you the desktop while I do it. So, pro number one, price to performance. If you can't get a GPU right now for under $1,200 or $1,500, that's $1,200 or $1,500 towards your GPU right here. So it's already performing very well, and you get the GPU built in there. The CPU is awesome too. I've really wanted to look at the Intel 11th gens, and this gets you an Intel 11th gen. It just happens to be the mobile version, but you can do a lot with it. On the con side, the touchpad. The touchpad is not huge. And by not huge, I mean like several years ago laptop touchpad. It's not very big. But again, it's a gaming laptop. I have to keep coming back and repeating that. The touchpad is not, it's maybe 3/4 or maybe 2/3 the size of my 13-inch touchpad on my MacBook. And, that's a creator's one that they're going to create on the go. A gamer's one's going to have a gaming mouse. So they didn't put a lot of space into the touchpad, and I'm fine with that. Style. I definitely get some points on the pro side for style. It's got really good ergonomics. I think that the idea to go with these curved bezels and strengthen the hinges, actually, the monitor itself is really thin. I was looking at this the other day. If I go here to the side profile, you can see how tiny that screen is. It is tiny. And so to strengthen that hinge, they added those stealth bomber-esque backplates there, and they gave themselves a little bit more of the hinge material. So I like that. They did a good job on that. So definitely on the pro, on the style there. On the con side, no USB-C. It's 2021. We're making laptops with Thunderbolt, USB-C, especially when you're in this price range. It's nice to have. As a gamer, you probably don't need a USB-C mouse. You've got Wi-Fi 6E. I don't think I even mentioned that. This is one of the first devices even that has come into my house that's taken advantage of my Wi-Fi 6 network here. So really, really cool to see that, and it's definitely getting the throughput. And with the Wi-Fi 6, you've got less contention. So with the Wi-Fi 6, there's a lot more airtime fairness that's going on in there. So nobody really likes to game over Wi-Fi because of the lag, but not bad at all, I thought as well. And then Pros on this: expansion slots for the hard drives. So I'm surprised that there's no 2.5 inch. I guess there probably wasn't room when you jam that much tech in here, but having two M.2s, you could put 4 terabytes, 2 terabyte and a 4 terabyte. You could put some serious storage in this thing if you really needed to and you didn't care about not having all your games live. I downloaded like 0.5 terabyte in the last week of just games on this thing, but the expansion slots are cool to see, especially the memory expansion, where it's not soldered onto the motherboard. I do like that a lot. On the con side, the battery life of a lot of the gaming laptops out there, a 65 watt hour battery, which is what it has on the bottom. It's not a lot, but my caveat, it's a gaming laptop. It's designed to have a power brick plugging it in. You need 240 watts to run this thing. If you've got a 65 watt hour battery, you can do the math. It's not going to last that long. It lasts about 2.5 hours I've seen of usage. Other ones can get further than that, but most of the time you're going to plug in. So that's a con side, is the battery life. Pro side, 60 frames per second ultra performance. You're playing these games on ultra. It's full HD, but you're getting over 60 frames a second, 80 frames a second. They look great. That's a huge pro to me, and something that's portable as well. Con side, it's chunky. This thing is 5.25 pounds of technology. It's not metal even. If it was made out of lead, I might think of that. But no, it's 5.25 pounds, which is a chunky laptop, but it's a gaming laptop. You're not usually carrying this to the office every single day. You might. You are probably not taking this to the beach with you, to read your Kindle book on. So no. The other thing is that 5.25 does not count the 3.5 pounds, or what, I should get the scale out here, that this AC adapter is. This thing's got some serious heat sink to it. So I was thinking about that. It's chunky, and the power brick is chunky too. That's a drawback. And then the last thing on the pro side, and I know I'm missing some pros on here, is the RTX features. Again, being an AMD guy myself, the RTX, the NVIDIA broadcast, and the audio capabilities that you have in that with noise suppression. I saw a demo the other day. The guy was using a hairdryer and you couldn't even tell in the room. That's incredibly complicated to do. And so I was really, really happy to see that the RTX features work on mobile, which was pretty slick. So I'm going to do a final pass through the Q&A real quick. And yes, Dan, I see about the table. Show me the table. Show me the money. That's what it is. I want to just do one more check on the RogueCast side as well. Let's see. Okay, no questions on the RogueCast side. Again, as I'm closing up here, there's only one PCI Gen 4 slot though. Oh, another Gen 3. Okay. I did not do one benchmark on the NVMe, which I wanted to do, which is the Crystal Disk Mark. That would have been a really good one to add in here. So when I do the full video review, I'm going to try to keep this show to about an hour here. But when I do the full video for this one, I will definitely do that. So thenetguy.com, you're going to get probably a 10 to 15 minute review video of this. We're going to dive through a lot of stuff in rapid succession. RogueCast, you're going to get a 2 to 3 minute video that you'll see on that site as well. So definitely look in that. And I'll do the Crystal Disk Mark and we'll look and see how well it runs. Hey, Sage, welcome. Just got in here. We're kind of wrapping up. You might have to scroll back through there and see what you missed here. But I did want to say, once again, if you are looking for a GPU, which is really hard to do right now, you can get a promotion on this machine. That's really good. But no, I would say let's start first by following RogueCast on the socials. RogueCast, we just started putting out some videos on YouTube as well, just to get more traffic so you guys can see us, and not having to visit our website. But check on Instagram, check on Twitter. There's a GPU contest, I think, going on right now. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I believe there's a GPU giveaway still that we were doing this month. And I could be wrong on that. Don't flame me if I am. But there's a lot of those kind of promotions that are going on. Definitely check them out on the socials there. That's one way to get cheap parts. Check these live streams out. So RogueCast.com or through whatever creators or through those socials that I just put up. Definitely check those out because that's another way. There's a newsletter. If you haven't visited the RogueCast website, visit the RogueCast website and sign up for the newsletter because you're going to get another way to find out about stock, obviously. We'll get stock alerts that go out. But there's also promotions. There's also some really good documentations and articles in there. Yeah, PCI 3 is Still awesome for gamers. I like your PC in the back came through. Sage, yes. This is a case that's actually carried by RogueCast. It's in the RogueCast colors. It's the NZXT H510 Elite, and I am sold. From a builder's perspective, this is one of the nicest cases to build in, and it comes with an RGB controller. So if your motherboard, I had a B450 that didn't have RGB headers, it didn't have the addressable. It has its own addressable RGB controller in there. It's got strip lighting. I could do a whole show just on that. It's going to have a video up here on RogueCast really soon. And like I said, that monitor behind me, that enormous monitor is from Scepter. It's not even released yet. But I'm going to release a video on that, and I believe it's going to be available for Prime Day, so check thenetguy.com for that one. So, like I said, make sure you're on the socials, make sure you're following those, make sure you're on the newsletter, make sure you're on the website. That's probably the best way to get a GPU, because RogueCast does get allocations, and when we have GPUs, we try to get them out as quickly as possible to you guys as well. Lastly, I'm going to hit the promotion real quick here. Again, $100 off this laptop in this model if you want. And I have the specific model number. I believe it's over here. This is the 11UG if you're doing a bunch of that Googling. So its list price is $18.99 on our website right now. You'll get a $100 mail-in rebate off of that. And it's for the first 10 buyers. We'll contact you with all the rebate information so that you have it as well. And lastly, again, if you want to follow me, I'm John, the Net Guy. You can see on my socials here, very similar, the Net Guy and thenetguy.com. I'm out there, and you can see behind the scenes how I put this studio together, how I do live streams. Trying to do live streams about once a week, doing some PC build, tech tips, gear reviews, things like that. So really do appreciate it. Thank you guys all for attending this one. And, hit us up on there. If you liked it, give this video a like. If you really liked it, give this video a share. It's been a tough time for YouTube creators right now. For some reason, the algorithms are changing, and we're not seeing a lot of views. It's been tough. So if you could do your part in that, help me out and make sure other people see this video and get to experience this laptop, that would be awesome. And I will catch you in a future video.